All right. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
My name is Josh Blackburn. I'm actually a safety. I'm a safety major, minor in comm, but today this is for communications, crisis communications more specifically. So, what crisis communication is it is about it is about it's about when an organization has a crisis and you need to communicate to the public what's going on, how are you going to respond, and what's going to make it better. What are you going to do to make it better? So I have a few examples right off the bat just to kind of give you guys a good idea of what's going on in terms of crisis communications. BP is probably the most recent in my mind. The oil spill in about 2010, I believe. How they responded, how they kind of they didn't have a very good response to crisis communication and in terms of safety, but our main focus is about Volkswagen later on, so we'll learn about them once I get to that case study. Here's why I think crisis communication is pretty important. In any organization or person, it is important for them to have a good public relations, so when they do have a crisis, they can minimize the damage done to their reputation. The goal of this is, since all of y'all have never taken crisis communications and we have one communication major, the goal is to make you learn, be knowledgeable about crisis communication and how important it is to an organization or to, say, an athlete. I think crisis communication is a practice that should be taken very seriously within an organization and should be well planned out. When something does go wrong, it is ready to be put into motion at a moment's notice. So today we're going to be going over image restoration theory, and that includes core components, the circumstances in which it's most useful, and the focus of the theory. The second, we're going to apply it to a case study. I chose Volkswagen emissions scandal, so we're going to go over Volkswagen and see how they reacted to their crisis. And finally, let me give my opinion on how Volkswagen did and how other organizations and people can look at them and learn something from them. So getting right into it, we're going to start with image restoration theory. It's a theory by William Benoit in which an organization uses strategies to restore a reputation that has been harmed through a crisis for the organization. Pretty simple stuff. This kind of gets more into depth of what the actual theory is. It starts off, you want to deny the crisis. You don't want to just straight up say, yeah, we did it, it's our fault. There's no, you don't want to look at us. As it's right here, it says, explain the crisis was caused by something else or someone else, not just, not the organization, we just messed up. Not like that. You want to restrict information as much as possible without making your company seem shady. So, like towards the media, you don't want to just blurt it all out at once to them, because they would take it off with it. You want to explain the foreground of the accidental nature of the event. So you want to explain the accident. Incident happened even through organization tried doing the right thing. So you're going to try. The organization wants to try to do the right thing, even though the incident still can be bad. You want to prove that the organization tried to do the right thing. You want to remind your stakeholders of the positive qualities your organization has. So your stakeholders are very important because they're the one that keeps you going on Wall Street and stuff. You want to downplay the crisis. You want to downplay it to a point to where it doesn't seem as bad as it really is. You want to make it seem that it was a blot on a great organization. So you want to make it seem just like a little dot on the company's decal, if that makes sense. You want to make it seem like it's just a little mishap, a hiccup, nothing serious. You want to challenge the credibility of those who claim the crisis exists. So if somebody comes out, specifically a person comes out of nowhere on your social media and calls you out of it, you want to challenge the credibility. Like, who is this person? Are they a credible source? You want to ask those questions, make it seem like they don't know what they're talking about. You want to offer compensation, even though you said, like, okay, the company's not at fault, but you still want to offer compensation so you won't lose consumers or anything like that. You want to take corrective action. Whatever you mess up on, as you will see later on in Volkswagen, you'll see how they messed up on the emission test, and they had to take corrective action and correct it by a certain age or a certain year. Mortification, you want to seem remorseful. You want to seem that you really are sorry and you really are trying to fix it. We're going to go back to this slide later on when we get more into the case study. So another thing that we need to go over is when do you need crisis communication the most? When do you need image restoration the most? You need it the most when a crisis actually happens. When you know that the company is not favorable in front of the public's eyes or your stakeholders' eyes or anything like that. Like I mentioned BP earlier. When BP had the oil spill, they had a pretty bad reputation in America at that time. Well, now they've slowly rebuilt their reputation through helping to clean up the Gulf, stuff like that, and they're you're getting back there. It'll take a while, but they're getting back there. But another person that I would like to mention is Michael Phelps. More of a person. I mean, Michael Phelps got caught doing marijuana and all this other stuff that he got caught doing, and one thing he did was he admitted to it, and he had all his sponsors support him, and they didn't give a whole lot of information, but Michael Phelps kind of just said, "This is my fault. I did it. I made my choice. Here's what I'm gonna do to correct it." And he did those things, and now Michael Phelps is still a great athlete in everyone's eyes. Everyone still looks up to him. So the main focus about image restoration theory is just when something happens, you want to become favorable in the eye of the public and your stakeholders. So basically, something happens, you want to restore your image. So we're going to look at Volkswagen specifically from now on. This is the case study I chose to look at to help really drill in how image restoration theory applies to a case so that you guys can get it. So to give you a rundown of what happened, in 2014, Volkswagen was found cheated on their emission test for the 2015 models. The system used to monitor the emissions was tuned down to improve gas mileage, and it was reported that it was releasing 40 times the legal limit of the EPA. So bad stuff. So when this happened, the first thing that happened was the Volkswagen executives responded. So overall, the message that the company was sending out is that they weren't at fault as a whole company, but it was more specific employees that messed up on the emission test, and it was found that they did that. So that was the overall message that they sent out to the public and the stakeholders to make themselves seem that they weren't at fault completely, but they're still. You'll see later on that they still used they still used strategies to get back into the favorable eye of the public. So going back to the slide I said we're going to go back to, I'm going to kind of go down the list and kind of explain what Volkswagen did so kind of give you guys like a good, and what they did and what they did wrong kind of situation. So we're going to give you guys a good idea of like how this applies into the Volkswagen case. So first thing they did was they denied it, and how they denied it was they said that, I believe the quote was, there was mistakes made inside the company.